We'll call the meeting to order, 10:32. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, Josh is moving the agenda. All in favor? Carried. The minutes from February 27th, is there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, Connie's going to move the minutes. Okay, all in favor? Carried. Reports, Lisa, go ahead.
So we all attended a pesticide training day at the Olds College, and that was followed by the Alberta Invasive Species Council conference for 2024. And there's pesticide credits available for that go toward the renewal of our licenses. So that was a good 3 days. We've participated in a webinar series put on by Special Areas and Vulcan and Newell, I believe it was, and Kara about kochia. We've had 5 people register for the EFP program, and the Grazing School for Women has got their Save the Date posters out now, so that's going to be in 7 persons on July 24th and 25th. That's about it. Questions?
That's a nice short report.
Yep.
Any questions for Lisa? Seeing none, Kennedy, go ahead with your report.
So there is going to be a spring edition of our ASB newsletter, and it'll be published in the April 9th Cypress Courier. For under workshops, we had drone school put on by Landview Drones on March 12th to 13th. There was 13 people who ended up attending. The weather on our second day wasn't ideal for flying. Usually day 2 they'll do the flying and pull out some of the larger drones. So we weren't able to do that on the second day, but they want to do maybe a makeup fly day in July when they're driving from Saskatchewan to Lethbridge in July. And then they also suggested maybe in the future they kind of want to put on maybe a sprayer drone clinic in the south region in the future. So they kind of suggested that for us if we wanted to kind of host one, or if they maybe would come to our area and put one on. The farm succession planning workshop was held in 7 persons on the 15th, and there were 24 people in attendance. Our Working Well workshop was February 29th. We had 23 people join the webinar, and then we did set up the Urban Egg Center, and there were 7 people in total that came to that. There were some technical difficulties with the internet, though, out there, so the people that were out there didn't actually get to see the whole webinar, but we do email the link out so people can see it, get access to it afterwards. And then under Alice, we did have a meeting with Christine Campbell to go over the program just to get me caught up on everything. And then I actually have a meeting this afternoon with the Pincher Creek Alice coordinator this afternoon to kind of go over things more on a municipal level and get kind of their perspective on their programs, just so we can maybe have more information on moving forward with that program.
Okay. Any questions for Kennedy? Go ahead, Shane.
I think it's quite nice to see that when we are putting on these webinars and seminars, and we're getting 24, 30 people. Seems to be getting well attended, which is nice to see. So keep up the good work. I mean, if we only had 3 or 4 people, we'd start to wonder. But
yeah, 24
when we're getting over 20, some at these, it's good job, staff.
And some of that too, like we're bringing in a good number from 40 Mile. So like when we've partnered with the county of 40 Mile, that's a bonus, I think, certainly. Yeah. So
I think we should keep doing that too, because it doesn't matter, we're all neighbors. That makes sense to take and bring them all together and do it.
Yeah, and we're finding out too that people are finding out about these things usually from Facebook and the Courier, actually, like lots of those 40 Mile people from Mini Berries and stuff, they're getting all that information from the Courier, and they're asking what else we're putting on. So it's kind of nice to get that feedback too. So
good work. Perfect. Then I got just a little short one for provincial ASB. I'm not sure if you guys seen that email that Lisa had sent out, but there's a survey for the Cooperative Agriculture Extension Model that they want back in by tomorrow, so if you guys could have a look at it and do that quick. So they put a fair amount of work into it, and I believe there's an attachment in there that's got a bunch of FAQs and whatnot as well, so if you can get that done, that'd be awesome.
And that kind of, can I just say, like,
ahead.
that kind of stemmed from, like, the 310 farm and all the specialists that they used to have, and then with all the cutbacks, they took all those specialists away, and then lots of that work was coming to the ag field department, I guess, the ag fieldman or whatever, to kind of address. And there was just never enough time for all that for lots of municipalities. It hasn't affected us a whole bunch, but I know it's a huge amount of work for others. So now the government is just kind of getting this feedback and, you know, I guess in hopes of getting more people in place again type thing, so.
Yeah, they've been working on this cooperative extension model for close to a year now, and they've been like hundreds of meetings on it, so this is what they've come up with, and they want to know your thoughts on it, so.
I haven't looked at it yet either. Cool.
Okay, any other questions on reports? Seeing none, Shane's going to move the reports. All in favor? Carried. ASB field tour visit, Lisa.
So every 5 years, the ASB program comes to do field visits with the Ag Service Board. So 2024 is our turn, and so Alan, he comes from Lethbridge. He's our rep, I guess, and he's just wondering if we can set a date so he can come, and he wants to have a visit with the Ag Service Board in the morning, and then like staff takes him out for the rest of the day just to kind of show him what we're working on and areas of success and areas of issues and stuff like that. So if we can kind of get a date, he sent a letter, which is included in here, and then he's been emailing already too, wondering about a date. So I don't know what.
Don't we normally do that in conjunction with like our May or June meeting?
Probably not with a meeting, because when he's here, then we would have to go out afterwards
Yeah.
type thing and tour him around the county. So I think it would have to be a separate day.
So I'm just thinking if we book him for 11 o'clock or something at a meeting, then after we're done, we could have lunch, and then you guys could go out after that. We could do it that way.
Is that enough time? Like, do you remember? I wasn't here at the last one. I was on mat leave.
I think it kind of depends. Like, I think we kind of had like what we kind of had outlined what we were gonna need for time. I don't remember exactly. We just tried to every site we had that we took him to in the afternoon. We just made sure it was kind of all kind of close by. We didn't tour him like obviously throughout the whole county, but we just picked some sites that were close together.
I think September would work better. Because then, I mean, we can show, you know, where we're spraying and a lot of them other issues were more May, June. I mean, you're just getting organized. You got your summer staff coming in and everything else. If you pick September, you're in full gear. You're spraying, you're doing this, you're doing crop checks, you're doing all that sort of stuff for a visit.
And depending on the year, like if it's all dried up by September, if that affects what we're looking at,
It's gonna be a good year.
I don't know. Well, yes.
I don't,
Yeah,
I just feel May and that you're just getting geared up.
for sure. Like, I don't like the idea of it being right off the get-go. What about vacations or anything like that? Is anybody away at certain times or anything that we need to work around, or we should?
So I think, well, June, July would be good for me.
Okay,
Yeah, that'd be fine with me too.
June, July, September.
It's usually, first week of August, we go camping, but that's about it, so.
July, I think July, we're in full gear and stuff too.
Yeah, end of July maybe, because then we're doing like grasshoppers and some of those other, well, be a bit early maybe for the surveys, like wheat and canola and stuff, but I think, yeah, as far as spraying and stuff goes, that we would certainly be in the thick of things then. Yeah. Now all those other workshops and stuff, there's a lot going on. Like youth range days, which might not affect us. The women's grazing. Yeah, sometime in July maybe. I'm not sure if I like the idea of it being on a normal meeting date.
It's fine, whenever, I never remember it being separate.
Okay, and I've never participated in one, so I don't know.
Because usually when they came down, they came and just on a normal meeting that I remember, but it can be, I don't care if it is separate, but
Okay, well, I can find out, you know, and see if that would work. I just don't know how much time he needs, and if we, I don't know, just randomly take him up to all the leafy spurge at Hilda or something, it's gonna be maybe a lot of driving, and we probably wanna take him out to like Suffield, like pipeline grazing, and show him all the baby's breath and the base, and I don't know, just things like that, down along the river, and, but we'll figure all that out as it goes. No.
well, why don't you figure out a day that works for you and we'll work around it.
Okay,
I'm sure we can make it work.
yeah, okay.
It's going to be enough notice that it won't matter, so as long as it's a month's notice, we should be able to figure it out, I'm sure.
Okay. Okay, so, sounds good. We'll figure that out then. Perfect.
Okay. Do you want a motion, or is that good enough? Or just receive it for information?
Yeah, sure, that's
Okay.
fine.
So Connie's going to move to receive that for information? Okay, all in favor? Carried. I think we'll take 5 minutes here and just let Blaine get on before we talk about this.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
you got her, man.
Okay, 6.2, no-till seed drills. Lisa?
So the seed drills were brought in. This is the older pair set. And the mechanics were kind of just getting into it, and because we had a bunch of other pieces from a couple years ago that never got replaced. So they were going to do all of this stuff and get them ready for spring. And they found a bunch of issues where the iron is wearing on some of the brackets. Yeah, so Braden can kind of explain this a bit too. And so we had got a quote about the bracket, because you can see like where the bolts go in at the top there, that the iron's wearing away. And anyway, so all the parts for that bracket, the bolts, and that other bracket there is gonna be almost $18,000 just for the parts. So it's to replace 24 of each. And then it would be freight, because they would come from the States. And do we know the availability on that? If they're even available, we don't know that. And then labor on top of it. So we're just kind of wondering if it's worth fixing that. We don't really know how long it's been like that. Maybe we ran them all year last year like that. And for a couple of years, we're not sure, because we've never taken those apart. So we reached out to Brooks Farm Center, because that's where we got them, just inquiring if they fixed it. And what did they say? It was gonna be over $25,000 for the parts and labor type thing. There would still be freight on top of it. It would be cheaper for us, for our mechanics, to fix it if that was the choice, because, you know, Brooks Farm Center will charge $120 or $130 an hour or whatever, and we don't. So it would be approximately $19,000 for us to do it, or, you know, we could just not do it and run them like that, and maybe think about the replacement time on those drills. Like I said, like this set has been giving us issues, so we replace some of the discs every year as well, an average of 6. The newer set of drills is 1 year newer, and we don't seem to have these issues with that one. So for whatever reason, that 1 year is making a lot of difference. I don't know if it's a different source of iron or whatever, but this particular set has been troublesome. So there's only 4,500 acres on this drill. Not only, I mean, that's quite a few. We've used it for 4 years now for full seasons, like summers. We also know and been talking to other municipalities, and they trade theirs in every 5. One municipality is 5 years and one is 6. So maybe that's something to consider instead of putting all the costs, you know, money into maintenance and repairs and stuff like that. I mean, that maybe isn't for this discussion, but just something to think about going forward. So I guess basically we're just wondering if we should fix these or just kind of run them as they are.
Go ahead, Shane.
Braden, I have a question for you.
Yep.
The discs that you're changing, are they on the same openers where these parts are worn?
The discs are kind of all over. And pretty much all of the parts that are, like, it's kind of wore almost all the way across. It's not just on the outer edges. Like, the edges are going to be worse than the middle of the drill, just from turning and stuff, but they are all kind of wore out.
So are the discs, like, they're wearing down to where they're not working anymore? Or
No,
they're,
it's more of a
like,
bearing
working?
issue. The bearings get loose in the housing, and then the discs get wobbly.
Okay.
Go ahead, Shane.
Wonder
Or go ahead, Josh.
if this is a PDI issue where they weren't tightened properly. And then now they're slopped out because they were bouncing all over the place.
I'm gonna share my screen with you, and I'll kind of show you what the changes are from 19 to 20. Just give me a second.
Can you just scroll down? Like for the-
Yeah, I will. I'm just gonna share it so those two can see it.
Oh, they can't see.
Okay, can you see my screen now? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So, in 19, where's the picture? You can see here the bolt kind of spun and then it just kind of kept wearing. Where in 20, they put a bigger headed bolt on and they cut it down a bit so there's a little more surface area so it can't spin as easy.
Okay.
So I'm guessing that was their fix to that issue.
Hmm.
Yeah, I got a couple questions too, quick.
Go ahead, Dwayne.
So, those bolts, do they have self-locking nuts on them?
They do, yeah.
Okay. And the second question, how much was it cost to change all the discs then to get through 1 year?
If we were to replace all the discs, would be 166 times 24.
$4,000 bucks.
Yeah.
$4,000.
Plus time, I
Plus
guess.
time, yeah.
And discs are a wear item, but if the
Yeah.
discs are going bad on them, that was just a flaw in it, I suppose. Go ahead,
Well, I was
Shane.
just go Shane.
Okay, what I would like to see done is, even if we got a hold of Red Arc or some welding shop, because we could put a insert in where they're wearing, because it's way cheaper to fix than to buy if you look at the cost of new ones. Is there, I know our shop, but to me, it's a welding shop. There's people that know what to do, like you could put a metal insert in there, weld it up, and then fix, where the bolt is turning.
Yeah, I was thinking more, looking at that, I would actually line bore them out and just upsize the bolts.
Or that, you can do that to them too. At a way cheaper cost than replacing the whole arm. It'd be way cheaper.
Yeah, I was gonna give that suggestion too.
Yeah, so I would recommend
would
that we
agree.
get a hold of a welding shop, even Mike Jacobs down the road here, or Red Arc. There's a lot of places around.
Well, there's, what's their names, Glasgow's have that mobile line boring setup too. They could come do it right in the shop here,
Yeah,
if they pulled it apart.
pulled it apart and just made the holes bigger bolts, and
Because me, just looking at those pictures, it looks like there's lots of meat to work with.
Yeah.
You might have to cut some new tabs for locks and put them on, but that's not a big deal.
it'd be way cheaper.
And just to see what it's gonna cost anyways, if it's, if we can do a repair like that, and I'm guessing it won't be $10,000, that might be the more feasible way to go and see if that lasts, because if you upsize them bolts, that shouldn't be an issue anymore after that. And as for the bearings and the discs, once they're changed, they should have the updated bearing and it shouldn't be an issue anymore.
Yeah.
But we might actually do,
Are the guys that are renting them turning with them in the ground all the time? Because that would be I can't see why they would wear other than that. I know, like with disc drills, you're not supposed to turn with them in the ground. Is that what's happening, or?
yeah, well, really the only time you should ever turn with them in the ground is if you're seating headlands, and you're gonna get a little bit there.
Exactly.
But I'm thinking, if they were just the outsides, it'd be the tire tracks. That would make sense to wear that, but those would wear substantially more. But it's just fun.
Not so much the disc, just these, like these bolts.
Yeah.
Those
well,
holes are pretty slopped out.
Well, and maybe that's why they upsized them. Maybe they found it was a flaw and they changed it.
Maybe. That would have been nice to get a memo on that.
Well, and then that's the thing, because you could have taken and, well, they probably redesigned it, made the holes bigger on them, so that otherwise you'd have to do all that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I
the
think
whole-
going to a welding shop's the best idea.
Yeah, I think the bolt is the same size, just the head is different. And like this is a picture of the newer drill, and it's not really slopped out at all. So just
And that could be too, maybe with that smaller head on there, it allowed them to spin, and then it wore a bit and came loose, and, the variables are all there. I can speculate all day long what caused it, but, go ahead, Connie.
But if they're not having these issues with the other drill, and it is a matter of it just being not great iron, are we gonna have the same trouble when we just replace the bolts?
Well, and that's why if you line bore 'em and go bigger bolts, or if we put a bushing in there, or whatever it may be, there's lots of solutions how to fix that. But
It's not gonna break again?
not if they bush them like that, because they'll actually take and they'll put a hardened bushing in there, and then it won't actually wear. So they'll cut it out bigger, and then they'll put so by the looks of it, that looks like it's a 5/8 bolt to me. So what they'll do is they'll drill that out to probably 3/4 or 7/8, and then they'll put a bushing in there that brings it back down, that it's the same size bolt. And then so it's actually, this bolt size isn't changing, just the material that it's sitting in is gonna change.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should, that'd be we should reach out and see what that cost is gonna be, and because it makes more sense to do that repair than it does to do it. And then, if it's one of those things that maybe we should be looking at, instead of, what are they on a 20-year replacement right now?
10 right
10?
now. They used to be 15, and then there was lots of issues with those sunflowers, so they got changed to 10. But now we're just thinking
Well,
maybe
I
it's
think maybe
too
we
long.
should, we can leave it where it is, but we should really be keeping an eye on it. If we're gonna have extenuating wear on it, maybe we might wanna change. Go ahead, Shane.
So what type of we should make a motion so we don't have to have a meeting for them, when they find out the price of getting it fixed. We need it fixed because, coming up, because I'm gonna put my name in, because I need to rent the drills too, that we get it fixed here as soon as possible. And so it's ready to go.
We can always do a motion by email as well,
Yeah,
and then it just goes on to the next meeting,
okay,
once we see what pricing is.
Yeah.
'Cause, if it comes back and it's gonna be a $20,000 repair, we might have to have the alternative conversation then, right? That we just put it back together and run it and look at getting rid of it, right?
Yeah.
But
Rid of it or
without having that pricing, how do we know?
okay.
So what would you like for a motion on that?
Maybe just something to look into, like welding shops or whatever for,
Yeah, look into all, okay.
I'll make that motion of,
Blaine's gonna make it so he's on the table.
okay.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we entertain some quotes on getting the drills fixed.
Okay, any other conversation on that?
Braden, one thing when I would suggest when you take these drills out is remind these guys not to turn with it in the ground, because that is really hard on those discs and bearings and everything.
Yeah, will do.
Okay, nothing else? All in favor?
All in favor?
Yeah.
Or, no, favor, yeah.
Carried. All right, anything in the items for information we need to talk about, Lisa?
just, let me think here. I think it's just the one thing I wanted to make sure that you knew about. So the Weed Control Act, they're looking at changing some of the weeds, like deregulating or changing, I think it's the very last thing on there, Braden. Changing certain weeds maybe from prohibited noxious to noxious or none at all, or, things like that. So there is a survey that's out. I don't know if you guys want to go through the survey as a group or not. I just know that some municipalities have complained that their boards didn't know about it, type thing. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew and ask if you want to go through it as a group or not, basically. So it's,
This that actually came to the provincial ASB, because after we had seen it, I sent it up to them guys, and they created a ruckus, so there's actually gonna be a meeting with the minister on that stuff, so
okay.
things had, and we tell them they have to do a better job, but
Yeah, and I know there's different deadlines and stuff, and the last thing I heard was that, I think the survey was open for like a couple weeks or a month or something for us to reply to, and And somebody said that's not long enough. We need time because now we're gonna get into having summer kids and all that kind of stuff too. So they might extend the deadline.
Have we seen that survey yet?
So there's a link for the survey in this email. I haven't tried it. I don't even know it. It should be live and ready to go, but yeah, so it is there.
What do you guys want to do with that? Do you want to go through it, or do we want to?
Like, for example, I know baby's breath has been talked about being taken off as a regulated weed. And so then we just leave it. We don't have to do anything about it. Well, I mean, that's okay for some municipalities, but for us, like, I'm not sure I'm okay with that, you know, so. But we all probably have different opinions on that and everything too. So even Canada thistle and sow thistle, like it's so widespread. Do we leave it on the list or take it off? But then what? If it's taken off, then nobody feels like they need to do any kind of control, right? So anyway, that's what it's all about, but.
Just 1 second here, guys.
All of a sudden, everything fucking. What did I do? Where?
I zoom back in.
Oh,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, everything.
Shane's having computer issues. I haven't looked at the survey yet either. Is it specific, or can we pull it up quick, Braden?
Might as well pull it up quick, we got time.
I was gonna say, if you guys got time, we should just go through it and do it.
Yeah, why don't we do that, and then we know. That's probably the easiest way. 10 to 30 minutes, well, we got time for that.
What page is that on?
Yeah, if Shane has to do it, it will be more. Are you a primary producer? No. Well,
No.
most of us are, actually.
Say yes.
Say yes.
What page are we on?
Yeah, I do mixed. You guys can see this online?
Yeah, kinda, yeah, it's okay.
Yep.
Significant. We would all be significant. So yeah, it does go through each weed. Just turn your mic on so they can hear you, Lisa.
So common barberry, it's not something that we deal with here.
Is it prominent in the province, so?
It's in the province in different spots, but yes, change to noxious, no keep is okay, so it kind of gives you an idea. And this is the problem, like when it's not affecting us, I don't know what it should be at, because I don't know how many other people have a huge problem with it or feel like it really needs to be controlled and that sort of thing, so I guess we could put,
That was my question, like, is this survey to pertain to Cypress County, or are we supposed to be kind of doing this province-wide?
well, we should think about Cypress County, I guess, right?
That's
Because
would
then
be
they're
my-
gonna compile all the results and try and figure out the best solution for the province from these.
I think there's the don't know option, so if it's not affected, if we're not affected by it, we should just say that and not have an opinion on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It would probably be the best.
Diffuse knapweed, so we do have this in the county. It is a prohibited noxious weed, so we are required to destroy it. We try, and there's getting to be biocontrol for some of these. We don't have patches big enough for biocontrol, but it's now an option, so that's great. we don't have a whole bunch of this, so we could leave this as prohibited noxious because we could deal with those infestations easier than some that are more widespread. So that's,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would keep it, yep,
Keep
keep it
it.
as is.
Why shouldn't diffuse be reclassified to noxious?
What was that?
It says, why shouldn't diffuse knapweed be reclassified as noxious instead of prohibited noxious? Well, for us, because the patches are small enough, we should be able to destroy them.
We're gonna test out Braden's typing skills.
Yeah.
Ask questions like that.
Good
for
thing
all-
Is there
It's not
any,
me.
is there funding available to control prohibited noxious weeds? Like if we take some of these off and then all of a sudden we have a problem, is there any provincial help to help control these, like because they're on the noxious weed list?
No, just like whatever we would get through our Ag Service Board grant would kind of typically go towards these programs, I guess, right? Sometimes, like with the biocontrol though, we would get grants if we're using it on bed and shore type thing. That's what we've done with leafy spurge. But, and even the diffuse knapweed, but it would have to be on bed and shore type thing. So, no, we couldn't apply for extra grants really, other than just what we already get.
I don't know if I missed it, but why do they want to trim this list down?
I think just because there's been a lot of complaints, like some municipalities are just having so many weeds or not enough or, you know, whatever to kind of justify all the control or lack thereof. And I mean, for us, we've got a lot of weeds that are regulated that we don't even get to because we're focused on leafy spurge and knapweeds and that sort of thing. So I don't know, like, do we take those off the list because we don't deal with them as it is? So it's, yeah, it's kind of a,
I think we have to leave them on the list. There's still a prohibited noxious weed. Like,
yeah,
I don't agree with taking weeds off this list just because then they get declassified and then they get overlooked.
agreed. And that's kind of what happened at, well, sort of, there used to be a nuisance category as well, so they weren't regulated, but like dandelions were on that at one time. And I mean, you can never control dandelions throughout the province, right? So they just took that whole nuisance list away years ago. But they've kind of just created one in the background now too for different weeds to be on the lookout for. So they're not regulated yet, but it's things that have kind of come up in the province or in the States, like ventinata grass that is probably going to show up here at some point. So they're just making us aware of it, like keep our eyes open, but they're not regulated yet. So I don't know if those are included in this or not, but.
So does it, as a bylaw enforcement thing and a weed notice, if we have a producer with a noxious weed or prohibited noxious weed and we have to issue a weed notice and now all of a sudden that weed isn't on the noxious weed list, does it take away some of the power of the weed notice to get that ratepayer to control that weed?
Yes, for sure it does. So like municipalities could use a bylaw to like enhance a weed, like kochia, for example. We would never do this, but Tabor has, through bylaw, made that a noxious weed. So now what? Like they likely did it so CPR will control theirs, so they've got power to write them a weed notice. But then what about all the producers and everybody else in the county too? Like you kind of have to follow through with everybody, right? So
That is the problem.
yeah.
I'm thinking about baby's breath and leafy spurge and some of these other ones that we have in this county. You know, all of a sudden it gets out of control somewhere and then we have no ability to enforce the weed notice or the weed act against the landowner.
Yeah. And to be honest, like I've never issued a weed notice. Like that was just never a thing since I've been here. I mean, it's obviously an option, but we've always chosen not to.
We've talked about it,
Yeah,
and people have just dealt with it instead of us having to actually do it, so.
yeah, like we try and work with people instead of just here, here's a weed notice and now you have to deal with
Which
it.
is preferable.
Yeah, for sure.
I know like the weed notice is the first step into where the county could overtake someone's property if they weren't dealing with their problems.
Yeah. And with the prohibited noxious weeds, technically, I think that should be an immediate weed notice. Like, we shouldn't be working with people. That should just be an automatic weed notice, and we've never done that. So,
Well, that's in your purview to do that, isn't it?
yeah. So, now we could do that and see how far it gets us. But, and with that, like, we used to have the eradicable weeds program where we would spray or control prohibited noxious weeds for nothing. And then a few years ago, it was decided that we needed to charge people for that service, which is fair. But already in those couple of years, like, people don't get back to us. They don't return our calls, or they're just snotty about it and, stuff like that. So I don't know. Now there's a few years grace. Do we just start issuing weed notices? But then we have to be prepared to enforce them. We don't have the equipment and manpower and that sort of thing to go and do it is the problem. So, and to have a contractor on standby, well, that's kind of difficult as well. Nobody's just going to hang around and go out on a moment's notice when we need to enforce.
Yeah, but enforcement's long-term. It's not necessarily it has to happen that day.
Not that day, but you have to put like dates
We
and
put
stuff on
timelines
there.
it,
So,
and
like if it's a
that's
month.
fairly, within a month you should be able to find someone to go spray something if that's the case. I don't know.
Yeah,
A lot of this stuff, if we don't start biting it harder, we're never gonna get any headway on it. It's the big thing.
yeah.
Okay, well, I guess continue on with the list, since we got astray there pretty hard.
Himalayan balsam, yeah, we don't have a whole bunch of that, I don't think. Horiolisum, I don't even think there's any in the province, or very little. I think we should, yeah. Meadow hawkweed, I don't think we have hawkweeds here. I think there's some maybe in the Cypress Hills, but that's not really our jurisdiction.
That's within the municipalities, essentially it is.
I would put, I've dealt with hawkweed, I would put it on,
To leave it on the,
yeah,
yeah.
because it's gross. Yeah, Brazos County elevated that, like the orange hawkweed, so.
So we could take and make that as a note that there's some within the provincial park boundaries, and there could be some working relationship to deal with it,
Yeah.
if that's the case.
And I don't know which one that is. Is it orange hawkweed down there, maybe? I can't remember. I've never seen it. I've never seen this, so.
That works too, some close by, good enough.
And we might be able to fill those out after too. Mouse ear, hawkweed, I don't know. Do not, oh, so that one's not on the list currently. I don't know.
Just put don't know if you don't know. Probably the same as we did for the meadow
Yeah.
one.
Keep that one on.
Keep it, yeah.
Spotted knapweed, that has to stay on.
Stay. We should be able to control it, yeah.
Ooh,
What could you? Fancy schmancy.
yeah, got me going.
Them young kids.
Oh, what's this now? A reclassification. Oh, so they're. Noxious. What level of impact do you anticipate for your municipality?
If they were to change,
So no impact, I don't think, on common barberry, diffuse knapweed, yeah. Himalayan balsam, Horiolisum, none. Meadow hawkweed, sure. Spotted knapweed would be significant. Related.
What's the likelihood that your municipality would elevate these plants to prohibitive noxious to be destroyed through bylaw if they were reclassified? Well, spotted knapweed, very likely,
And diffuse, yeah.
and diffuse. And then the rest will probably be unlikely,
Yeah.
unless it become a problem.
Unless, yeah.
You missed the one, Braden.
You missed that one, yeah.
Oh, good, more knapweed.
Currently classified as prohibited noxious, they are being considered for removal. Oh, big-headed knapweed wouldn't affect us, we don't have it. Common buckthorn, well, is that what's along the river here? So we have that. We've never done anything, but we've probably got it all over, so. I don't know, I don't think I would keep it as a prohibited noxious, though. That means you have to control it, you have to. And we don't, so even if it was noxious, yeah. Be classified, well, because it's along the river.
Well, just right unable to control because it's along the river.
Yeah.
Is the river within the county's jurisdiction for weeds though?
Yes,
Or is it its own?
Well, if it's on bed and shore, then it's provincial or federal or whatever, because river water is federal. But bed and
still within
shore,
our-
we get the grant, so yeah,
it's
technically we do it for them, I guess.
Cardston County showed a slide of them using their boats, going down the river and then stopping and going in and spraying along the banks and.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, special areas as well, they've got a boat program, a
Yeah.
river program. St. John's wort,
You have to get
nothing here. Yellow, nothing here.
well, there's the fun one.
Propose removal. And this is the problem with the flowering rush. So if it's not on the Weed Control Act, which we don't have a whole bunch of, we can't do much about it anyway, but if it's taken off of here, then what? It's not on the Fisheries Act, or, right? So the only legislation that anybody has to do anything with this is through the Weed Control Act at this point. So it's,
Change it to noxious and then write that in.
I guess so.
Why? Keep on Weed Control Act, keep in Fisheries Act.
Yeah, keep on the Weed Control Act for some kind of, for some potential control. Okay, pale yellow iris, it's certainly an issue in some places, so I think it should be left on the act. That's another aquatic thing is the issue, so, but there is.
So keep it
Change the
prohibited or leave it
classification
noxious?
to noxious. I don't know.
We're leaning on you here, Lisa, because you're the material matter expert.
Yeah. I guess
Yeah, I would
leave
say I
it.
don't know like 92% of these weeds anyway.
I know, and this is the issue, like, must control, yeah, leave it or destroy. Keep it as prohibited noxious. I think there's little of it, you know, so it could potentially be controlled. They're working on some the last year or two. Purple loosestrife, we should leave that on there too, I think. Eurasian water milfoil, it should, I think, be left on. If you guys have different opinions. Didn't we? Oh, no.
Same thing as the last one.
So, little, yeah. Common buckthorn might change, though. Some impact maybe for common buckthorn.
You probably don't have to add comment.
What is the likelihood that your municipality would elevate these plants? Not very, I don't think, but.
I think those are all unlikely.
And to be honest, if we found purple loosestrife somewhere, we'd probably just go and deal with it. You know, whether it was on the list or not. We know it could be an issue, so it's like the Phragmites everywhere. Not everywhere, but that pop up. Anyway. That's how I feel it would go.
Works for me.
Oh, boy. Proposed removal. No, keep it as controlled, yeah.
We have lots of this.
Yeah.
Type in
Well, you can't just let that go.
Yeah.
Like, what a disaster that would be.
What, write that. What a disaster that would be.
Oh, no, I'm being quoted again.
I'll print that.
This has got
Guys, I
to,
think that's
It
the
would be
exact thought.
detrimental to the land in Cypress County.
Exactly. There we go.
Don't put Cypress
Detrimental
County,
for this
this
to
is
be removed.
supposed to be, I don't know if it is or not.
I got a comment here.
Okay. For common mullion?
On, what's that?
For which one?
On baby's breath.
Okay.
So that should be banned from flower shops.
Yes, it should.
Put that in there too, actually.
And they know it.
Because when my
and they
wife buys
try.
that, I lose my shit. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
me too.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, shoot, maybe this should be a resolution or something, that it's banned from entering Alberta in any form.
Well, put that on
You can buy kosher at a greenhouse too, they sell it.
Yeah, there's annual ornamental kochia. I have not bought
Why
it.
is there-
It's red. I think it's often
Fancy.
red. Yeah. Okay.
Put that in the back of your mind for later, Connie.
Comment that is in the county. It's in the city and kind of all over. So I think it should stay on the list.
That's really bad in Crow's Nest, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
In Waterton.
Creeping bellflower, well, that's all along the river too, in everybody's yards who live there. I've got it in Red Cliff. It's just, I don't know if that's
Just keep it noxious.
that one. I feel like that one could almost be taken off. It's like a dandelion kind of thing, you know, like pull it out when you see it, but people think it's a beautiful flower, so I guess it could stay on.
Is it a bee thing to keep that one on?
Maybe.
Dandelions we keep on because of the bees.
Yeah. Yeah. Great burdock, well, that's widespread too.
I don't know what we're ever gonna do with burdock.
And that one too, like we don't really, I think it should be on there, kept as noxious, yeah.
Yeah, so how are we ever gonna control it?
Perennial sow thistle, well, that's everywhere too, but I mean, we spray that as we're spraying Canada thistle in the fall and stuff, so we might as
Yeah,
well
so
just
keep-
leave it, I think.
Yeah, maybe just note that it gets sprayed when Canada thistle gets sprayed.
Woolly burdock, same thing, and just keep it. Yellow clematis. I don't know, that's all over
His
it.
favorite plant.
Sandy Point, so we send the kids down there to rip it out. Who's your mom's favorite plant?
Dad's.
Oh,
There's an ornamental version of it too.
yeah, there's tons of those that are not invasive.
Is that the one that's all over the golf course fences?
It could be.
When you go down to Paradise, the fence is all full of something. And
yeah.
then the one by the college, that one's got.
Yeah, I know there's ornamental clematis there, but that might be Virginia creeper or something on that one. I'm not sure about going down to Paradise Valley, but it grows in the trees, like in the spruce trees all along Maple Avenue and stuff, and yeah, so keep it on, I think. I don't know. Baby's breath, mullein. Sure.
Braden, you're clicking all the right buttons here. I kind of agree with you.
Woolly burdock, yellow clematis. Sure.
That one I would say very likely. If they were to do away with it, we'd have to do something.
Yeah, common mullein, maybe, yeah. Like I feel like CPR shouldn't get away with having that. So, yeah, that's good. Bellflower, probably not. Burdock,
Probably not.
probably not. We're not gonna elevate it.
Probably not. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Proposed additions, oh boy. African rue.
Don't know what that is.
I remember selling that in the garden center. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't know it was invasive. Gypsum weed, that should be on the list.
That's the one that gives you blisters, right?
Yeah. Tall hawkweed, I don't know. Don't know.
I gotta
Don't know.
come up with all these names.
I don't know.
We're sitting around having a pint.
Yeah.
More than a
Let's,
pint.
let's come up with a new name for hawkweed.
And how can there possibly be so many that we've never heard of?
I know.
Like, where are they
Hawkweed's
coming
hawkweed in
from?
my mind.
Yeah.
Oh, I dealt with so much hawkweed.
What?
With hawkweed, orange hawkweed.
I don't have a
The
There's a
cemetery.
lot of
These
hawkweed.
are
I think
all-
it comes to living in the drought area. We don't get all these other weeds.
And the only thing that grows in the drought's kochia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pale European swallowwort? I don't know.
Grasshoppers are good for one thing then.
Queen Anne's lace? Oh, that one I don't know either. Swallowwort. Queen Anne's lace. So we would have that in the hills. Wouldn't affect us a whole bunch, but maybe, like that could be a noxious weed. Sure. Good to go.
Yeah, I mean, you'd hate to lose your park to noxious weeds if you couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah. Ugh.
Have you guys seen any Jimson weed at all? No.
I think there was only ever one or two kind of sightings up, like in central Alberta or something. Somewhere.
Went astray out of somebody's garden.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's,
It's kind of like that creepy vine thing that my mother planted in the flower bed at one time now, which makes up a majority of my lawn.
yeah.
Is it an ivy?
Yeah, easy to kill, but there won't be anything else there if I get rid of it, so we just call it lawn.
What is this now?
Palmer or something.
Potential additions, please indicate if you agree with the addition of each plant as they, I don't know what classification, oh. Palmer amaranth. Don't we have that?
I don't know the answer to that.
We have amaranth. I don't know that it would need to be regulated. Do not add, yeah. Tall water hemp, I don't know. Oh, is that?
Yeah, we've got that.
I feel like we do have that for sure. I don't know that it needs to be added.
Isn't that what's in the Cypress Hills, Saskatchewan lake? That they have such god-awful issues with it to control?
I don't know.
Did you know that, Josh?
I don't know.
No?
But I feel like it's kind of along creeks and stuff. I feel like I've seen it down by Darren Lutz's or something maybe, and maybe it's something
In
else.
that case, do add it.
Hawkweed, I don't know. Sure.
Works for me.
Nuisance.
Category.
Boy.
What is the likelihood that your municipality would use a non-noticed nuisance category to control non-regulated, non-native plants if such a category was available? Probably likely, yeah.
I think so.
When we had the nuisance category, I think it was a helpful thing to have
Yeah.
because it gave you something.
If there was an infestation of something random that wasn't on the list, you could at least go in and deal with it if it was,
Yeah, like abandoned yards or whatever.
Well, just even to bring awareness or something, you know,
or
like
someone
just.
had an entire quarter section of dandelions that they refused to spray out or work out or something.
Oh, fields.
There's one or two of them in the county.
Yeah, I live on one.
Some, yeah. Are you concerned with any of the proposed changes to the weed? Yes. Is there a specific weed you are concerned about reclassifying, removing, or adding? Baby's breath, yeah.
Yeah, do not remove.
Yeah. Bold,
Put in all caps.
yeah. Or just very concerned with this. What's that? Yeah.
And baby's breath like the rats.
And leafy spurge.
And leaf spurge. That they weren't looking at removing that though.
No, that wasn't on there at all. So they're gonna leave that as noxious, so that means we'll have to continue controlling that. But
I didn't see any toad flax on there.
that wasn't even,
And there probably is no amendments to
no,
it.
just leave it.
The only thing this is what they're looking at amending.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if it's not on here, it's gonna remain
Said
as
that
is.
Medusa head too or whatever, but yeah, well, you could add ventinata.
Add what, sorry?
So ventinata is a very invasive grass. It's in Montana, so it will come here at some point, but
Just make a note when you put it in there, just say why. Good enough.
and I'm wondering about, what's that other one? The German status that's an issue here. Like we're working on that, but, and I know there's several, I think 3 patches in the city that they've been digging out this past summer and stuff, so I guess if it was just on a nuisance list, again, it's okay. Because I don't think it's a problem everywhere, right? But
I think I might have grown that long ago.
I have some in my yard, full disclosure, like it's there, it's never propagated that I can see, but I cut it off and throw it out every year too. I don't let it blow around the countryside, so.
Acceptable would be the correct one. Everybody happy with that?
You betcha.
Online people happy?
Yep, works for me.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool. Well, that was great.
That was
I didn't
pain-
order
it was
lunch.
Moderately painful, but we got her done.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else to come before the meeting? You want to talk about your resolution idea, Connie, while we're sitting here, now that you've talked about it?
Yeah, I think we should call for an all-out ban on baby's breath and German status sold in flower shops or being imported in as seed.
Is there any other things that we should be adding to that if we're going to be doing something risque? Remember, I'm on the provincial committee now, so you're the one that's going to have to talk about it.
Yeah. I'll have to sleep on that one. And then, like, the drones being able to spray, we should write that up as a resolution.
Well, they're very aware of that. Like, they're working towards that. It's taking forever.
That's
So
Transportation Canada.
It's-
And
they
it's not
are,
even so much Transportation Canada, it's
PMRA.
PMRA being their typical
yeah, just,
Yeah, but
cells
would
and
this
not
light a
getting
little
stuff done.
fire under them?
Probably not, but we could do it, I guess.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a resolution last 1 or 2 meetings ago anyway.
Yeah.
so. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
It's time to start thinking about that, so we actually have something by the time January rolls around again, so.
October, we need it for October at the
And
South
what was
Region.
that land
Yeah, I
thing
guess.
we had with, outside, that'll never happen?
Use your mic, Shane.
No, that gets so complicated. I looked into it more with, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, investors.
Foreign investment and health, teachers fund and all them people, trust funds buying agricultural land. It's becoming a, it's investment and how do you control it?
Well, you look at places like Surface, for example, where it's entirely owned by the Chinese. That's huge foreign investment, right? I don't know if I want to touch that with a 10-foot stick.
No, you don't. It's,
That's above my pay grade.
yeah, it's a difficult one.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that after. Anyways, anything else come before the meeting, guys? We got those ideas.